see how it plays out. Of course, us as our characters, we're in the alternate universe of finite phrase also. Like in the real universe, Michael, you are not really present as a ghost. You would have actually been still alive at this time. The remnant from the scooper in the real dimension where you originally came from. That already happened, so you would have been alive in that other dimension. This is just a sub-dimension of the original dimension known as Five Nights at Freddy's. Right. We aren't real. This is just a figment of his imagination. Is this all in his dream? Yes. We are stuck in a forever-lasting loop inside of this kid's dream in an alternate universe from the real Five Nights at Freddy's games. But instead, we're in an alternate universe. I see. I'm sorry, I just can't think straight. My father, he always comes back. I know. I'm not prepared for that. And how are we gonna fix this timeline? Now everything from every other timeline has mishmashed into this single timeline here. In a single dimension. Yes. Such as Oswald from Into the Pit. It's a story in the real world, they call it. A world that looks like ours, but it's an alternate universe. It's the only universe that doesn't have Freddy's in it. It's a universe, in fact, that has a fandom about Freddy's. I understand. So we aren't the original timeline. That place what the fandom is. And some indie developer who now left them. Who's now behind the scenes. That's the real dimension. Where finite at phrase that they call it isn't real. While every other dimension does have it and is real. That is correct. And you come from what I like to call the 148th dimension. And I come from the second dimension. This dimension that we are apparently talking about right now. So that is you so-called call it the real world with like applications like YouTube and stuff friggin' like that. That is Dimension 54. Yes. Which is the original. Because 54 was the first prime. Original. Well, not prime. Prime number 3. Original. It was the first ever number created entirely in math order. What does this have to do with our situation? I don't know how the number 54 came first. Well, apparently it is. Dimension 54 was the first dimension created by some life force entity no one really knows. No one knows if it's God or whatever out there. All we know is that some grand entity created all is confusing, but it makes partial sense. How are we gonna get Oswald back to his reality where he came from? Because his note fell in the plushie's world, followed by King Bonnie, and Glitchtrap is also somehow glitching into every reality, and he's tormenting this reality as we speak right now in the year 2021 in Dimension 54. Yes. I am not the Michael from the original Five Nights at Freddy's dimension in Dimension 87. I know. It's just hard to wrap my head around that all these dimensions are aligning together to become one, because we're all somehow becoming a giant crossover now. Yes. Just like in the real world. That one YouTube series, I think they call it. I don't know what YouTube is, but it's something they have in their dimension. Although we do have Netflix in our dimension. Well, my dimension, but probably not yours. What's Netflix? See, there you go. So, dang, I forgot what I was gonna say. How could you forget something so important? I forget what you say. Shut up! I'm trying to think here. David, let me think. I need to get you back in your reality too. You were just a plushy dog. And oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna say. In that one YouTube series, this is just like, what do you call it? It's filled with those Five Nights at Freddy's animations. Those Fazbear Pizza animations, they're called Super Special Force or something like that. There was a giant crossover, even Godzilla came in their world. I was only in Dimension 54 for a good minute to see that series, to see that show on that application, as it is a good example of how our worlds are aligning to become one and the same. That makes sense. What does Five Nights at Freddy's mean? Is it like a term for something? Is it like a night guard spending 5 nights at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Pretty much exactly what you said just now. Ah, okay. So that's what the so-called fandom, or whatever that word means, calls it in Dimension 54. Also known as Earth's World. Yes. There are infinite realities out there. People tried so long to do some trend on an application also in Dimension 54 called Clock or something like that. And like TikTok goes to clock or something like that. I don't know what the app is called. And basically they think you can reality shift. They're right. It is possible. Except most of the time, they come out with a lucid dream rather than a mixed reality that they wake up in. That's because most of them don't concentrate hard enough. Reality shifting is real. No one just doesn't know it yet. And we can't tell anyone. Please don't interrupt me. And you interrupted me. Great. Sorry. But I'm sure you got my point right now. Glitchtrap is from a different dimension originally. And he's basically turning every reality, every world, and every place in I see. All this is so confusing. Don't worry, you'll catch on. In the series, Stupid fnaf friks, you're a god. You're one of the 3 original gods who created everything. And John was the disgraced force, but he is the master of all of you. And blah blah blah, you know how the lore of Stupid fnaf friks goes. It's not canon in the Finite Race series, but it could be soon if we don't fix these realities. Like, we could have like friggin', what do you call that movie series, like Marvel or something like that, mixed in with Star Wars or something like that, Stupid Woopers or whatever the freak you call it. Or you could have Aquarius City mixed in with all that stuff. What's Aquarius City? It's a famous mainstream movie that we have in my world. Basically, it's about the year 2062. It explains how the future is and accurately guesses the future in about 40 years from now. In my world, at least. Right. In every world, just like how there are different realities, do they take place in the same timeline? Most of them, but some of them take place in different timelines. I see. Well, thank you for having me here, Michael, Mr. Afton. You're welcome. We will sort this out, don't worry. I will confront all the other me's in the other dimensions, and especially the one from that is most popular, called Swiss or Location or something like that. Swiss or Location. Sister Location. Yeah, something along those lines. I think that game is called. Yeah. All of this is confusing. We're becoming one with a paradox. That's why mixed realities are falling into this show series. And that's why the YouTube series exists in Dimension 54. Basically, these children, these tweens and teens, and one of them being oldest, 15 years old, I think one of them could be 16, but not sure. Probably King Bonnie, I'm not sure, he could be a little bit younger than that, I don't know. Who's King Bonnie? You'll catch on. I'm the one who mostly knows about Dimension 54. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. Like how... Yeah, I understand enough. You didn't get to finish your sentence or paragraph or what it was, but I generally get the idea what you're gonna say. Yeah. I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, so yeah. I'm gonna finish into thin air. And yeah. Alright. Oh, I think I know how to sum it up. So basically, the stupid FNAF plush friks series, the King Bonnie FNAF plush series, the Maria's Ultimate videos, plushie videos, the FNAF plush adventures, FNAF plush videos, stuff like that. They all take place in the same universe, but in a different dimension. That is the Dimension 54, like a different dimension than ours. Yes. And in Dimension 54, which is called Earthworld, I guess, like Earth, our world. And, keep in mind, Dimension 54 is our world as you're watching this video right now. You as the viewer, Dimension 54 is our world.